Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols. Today I am joined in studio by the Hall of Famer, co-host of BTI, Michael Wilbon.
Never going to get used to that.
I'm never going to get sick of saying it, friend. And also,
love hanging out with you.
Just a couple of NBA champs. All right, fine. Richard Jefferson, Kendrick Perkins. He's in the Hall of Fame. I'm just saying.
Don't get crazy, Rachel.
Let's get right to that conference finals game from last night, friends. Paul George led the Clippers with a game-high 27 points as they took Game 3 for their first conference finals win in franchise history. Here is what PG said about what changed for his team last night.
You know, this is a scrappy team. We have to match their physicality. I thought we did that. We have to match their scrappiness. I thought we did that. We can't allow this team to play harder than us. I thought that was just the way we approached it. It's just great. We got so many guys that want this. So many guys that are lost in this moment. That, you know, we just stay together. We know that we have a real possibility to do something special. And, you know, we're going to give everything we have.
All right, so in this postseason, the Clippers are 0-6 in games 1 and 2 of playoff series. Not ideal, not what you want, but they are an impressive 9-1 in games 3 through 7 thus far in the postseason. So, Mr. Wilbon, Hall of Famer, what makes the Clippers successful in these adverse situations?
Everything Paul George just said. I thought that was perfectly, eloquently said. Mm-hmm. They play so hard. Like, we are so a culture addicted to numbers now. We have to find some way to justify what a team did or what a series is about. This is about how hard they played and how they are scrappy. They are just tough-minded and physically tough. Mm-hmm. That's what they do. I don't know why, and these two gentlemen to my left probably do know why. Why does it take until Game 3 to get started? I don't know what activates it.
Right.
But once they get in this series, and any of them, and they are down, they played so hard last night. I don't even want to say they played harder, but when they played that well, and they are still talented, even without Kawhi Leonard, man, I mean, they're going to play harder tomorrow. Yep. They just are. This is what they do.
No, I couldn't agree more. When you look at, you know, I think the issue for them in these 0-2s is that if you look at these games, they're all very close, right? The Utah game, they had a chance to win up in Utah, you know, so it's like they're coming out of some of these losses with confidence. You lose on the road to a very good team, and it's like you have your chances to win.
Game 2 is as close as
Game 2, they were supposed to.
Game 1 was a 2-point game before the dunk on the inbound.
Exactly. So all of a sudden you start looking at these games and you're like, oh, well, Phoenix is at home. They had a bit of the edge, but ultimately, this Clipper team they could easily be up, you know, our 2-1 in this series. Yeah.
You know what I noticed last night was that we have this saying when we were in the locker room, don't hope that they miss, make them miss. And by that said, I'm looking at how they were contesting shots. Like, they were contesting shots with a meaning, with a purpose. They were, like, and it starts with Patrick Beverley. He's been hugging Devin Booker like a pair of leggings, okay? I mean, he's been that close to him. And this is what, to all the kids out there, when you have that saying that says, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Remember, in the first round, Patrick Beverley didn't even play. Second round, he came in, he strapped up Jordan Clarkson off the bench. Now, he's giving Devin Booker hell right now. He don't know what to do. He's all up in him. He's frustrating him. And I'm frustrated watching it. He's annoying me.
I mean, I will say, being court level last night, what you're talking about just playing hard. I mean, of course, you can see it, right? We've all seen when a team turns that up. I don't know if you can do that for 3 more games at that level. They were playing at the desperation, we are going to get eliminated level, which is not normal for a Game 3. But since no team in NBA history has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit,
gotta play with that desperation.
It was kind of that Game 7 for them.
You know what I wonder, and Richard was schooling me on some of this last night. We were talking during the game. Richard, how much does T. Lue have to do with activating this and his use of players, the way he goes about it, which is probably different from other coaches?
No, it is, but its ability to keep you engaged, even when you're not in the rotation. Certain guys, this series might be yours. Obviously, Patrick Beverley, they tried to put him on Luka Doncic, and that was not the answer.
Yep.
So once they got down, and you understand, you see what your coach is doing, and as long as he keeps open communication, then Luke Kennard. Then all of a sudden, Luke Kennard goes from not playing to playing. You got to be able to keep your guys engaged while you're playing chess, because if guys are just getting fat, getting out of shape, so I didn't mean to pointing at you, Perk.
It's all good.
I'm just saying, if people are getting out of shape and not paying attention, then all of a sudden, when it's time for them to step up and play, they're not ready. But his guys are constantly ready.
But, Perk, is there a point where T. Lou's going to run out of adjustments? He's gone big, he's gone small, he's gone back again.
You know, I've been preaching this time and time again, and people think that I was being biased, but I've been in those locker rooms with T. Lou. I know he doesn't sleep. He's a student of the game. He watches film night in and day in and day out, right? And when you think about it, a lot of people's like, oh, yeah, T. Lou, man, he don't really hoop and holler up and down the sideline. That's not him. But if he gets you in that film room, he's going to address you. It don't matter who it is. I didn't see him get on RJ a few times, and rightfully so.
I mean, we get on RJ, so that's not. That's not what makes him a great coach. But he is a basketball savant when it comes to that sort of thing. I don't feel like I'm overblowing that. I have seen him on the back of a napkin do what it would take several coaches a long time to see an opening for. It comes to him, and he told me a few days ago. Once he realized it was with your Boston team, he said that a couple times Doc would lean back and say, what should we do here? And that he found himself having that answer earlier, quicker, and more precisely than he thought he would. And that from then on, he developed the confidence to know this is a thing I am better at than almost anyone else.
He's
and there are parts of coaching that other people will be better at, and he will tell you that himself. But this thing, this part of being an NBA coach, he is one of the best at, and it is showing in these games. We will have to see as the competition keeps ratcheting up if it can be enough to make the difference, because the Suns, that competition is high. They had a 9-game winning streak going into last night's game. That was, of course, snapped with that loss. Chris Paul, Devin Booker combining to go 10 for 40 from the field. CP3 had been away from the team, right, in those health and safety protocols for 11 days. So we expected him to not quite have his wind and all of that. And you saw that during the game. Book wearing a mask to protect that broken nose he suffered in game 2. He broke the nose in 3 places, people. This was him talking about it after the game. Take a listen.
That was probably the worst part. It was a procedure that they usually say put you under for, but we had a flight out a couple hours later, so they just numbed it up all over the place. It felt like eight shots to numb it up, and then they go in there and put it back. They break it again. They break it back in place. So the nose feels fine. So we lost the game.
So there's a lot of things to point to there, right? But Perk, for you, what was the biggest reason the Suns were not fully themselves in that game?
Well, they were uncomfortable. They were playing on their heels all night long. And that's credit to the Clippers, but I think you got to give a lot of credit to Zubac. He was the best big on the floor last night. He outplayed Ayton on both ends of the floor. I thought he did a great job of diving to the basket. T. Lou rolled with him. I thought he did a great job in his pick and roll defense. I thought he did a great job of going verticality, attacking the offensive glass, putting pressure on his Phoenix Suns team. So when Ayton went to help, he was there to clean a lot of things up. He was the unsung hero in that game last night for the Clippers.
Yeah, no, I think it was the backcourt. This was the first time that the Phoenix Suns, one of their guys didn't get going, right? This was the first time they're both backcourt. And then even when Chris Paul was out, Cameron Payne was stepping in like he was Chris Paul. So it was like you weren't just missing much. That backcourt has been on absolute fire. And this was the first game that the Clippers put that pressure on them, and they didn't have the answer. This was one of them didn't have the answer, or Devin Booker didn't get Chris Paul to the fourth quarter, so Chris Paul can do what he does. This was the first game that I saw them put that pressure and keep that pressure on.
Well, so you mentioned Cam Payne. He did not play in the second half because he twisted his ankle.
Only 4 minutes in the game.
And we don't know how bad that ankle injury is, right? I mean, LeBron James missed quite 46 weeks with an ankle injury. It ended up being closer to 6. If this is a high ankle sprain, he could be looking at not playing the rest of the series. If it's just a twisted ankle, he could be back tomorrow. But Chris Paul is the one I want to ask you about, Wilbon, because you have spent so much time watching this man play. Do you think the not quite Chris Paulness we saw last night is going to be gone by game 4?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We sat here at this set last night before the game, and there was a little warning. Perk said, hey, listen, you've got to play yourself out of that rust. It took a half or a little more, and he still wasn't all the way out of it. Yeah. Do I expect to see the Chris Paul that we saw in the previous 2 series? I do. And the question is, how long does it take to get adjusted? Did either one of you ever have to wear a mask? Richard, you had
No,
you didn't.
no, not like this situation. I think you had to wear it for one game because you might something. But yeah, those masks.
Yeah.
It like again, Rip Hamilton made it famous and he was just like he wore it all the
No,
time.
he wore it after he needed to.
Yeah,
I
it was
covered
like,
that team.
he kept it
He
going.
wore it. He was just like, well, now I'm comfortable in it. I'm going to
But
keep
guys,
it on.
historically, just
It takes a while to get, you know, so Booker had, and it sounds like excuse making. The first thing was that defense. My goodness, Reggie Jackson plays some of the best defense. And Reggie's a plus defender anyway, but he last night he was on it. Paul George. I mean, they had an ensemble, a rotation of those guys on Devin and on CP.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be something to get away from. I'm wondering what adjustments they're going to make, and it's harder to make them without Campaign. Remember, Campaign's coming off a game where he had 28. 9 and no turnovers. That's a Chris Paul game.
Yeah.
Where are they going to get that from if he can't be that effective?
But maybe he'll be back. We have zero idea of the severity of that injury. It could be really bad. It could be not bad at all. We will find out in the next 24 hours. We will also find out later in this show what these gentlemen think of the Bucks and Hawks series after 48 points in Game 1. How can the Bucks try to slow down Trae Young in Game 2? We'll discuss that. First, though, time for our distant replay from this date, 1999. A crying producer Steve in front of his television because of Avery Johnson.
Double team. Elliott on top.
Producer Steve was young. He was hopeful.
Yes. Avery Johnson for the left slide.
Producer Steve just said in my ear, I actually did cry. That's not funny.
And it is funny, Steve.
they left Avery Johnson wide
Love
open.
you and your childhood pain.
They left him. They
that was-
buried him.
Woo!